Hi Dan, this is Joel from the Eagles Mirror Air Museum. I'm going to try to do a kind of operations video in your 1941 Lincoln here. I am a mechanic, not a videographer, so don't be too hard on me. Hopefully the video turns out okay so you can see it. I'm going to go over kind of starting the car, and we'll take it outside and we'll put the top down. I'm working with weather that's kind of working against me a little bit. It's pretty windy. We had a storm go through, but the wind blew it dry, so we'll see. Hopefully the audio turns out okay too. So underneath the hood, I'm sure you got tons of good pictures. I'll just try to point out some from maintenance items. We just replaced all 12 spark plugs. I just changed the oil in the filter. I use Lucas hot rod oil or classic car oil. It's high-end ZDDP, high-end zinc, which is supposed to be good for older engines with flat tappet camshafts, and it's supposed to help with storage and dry starting. So this has 1040 in it right now. The oil filter is a Napa Gold oil filter. The part number's on it, but I know I have it written down somewhere if you want the part number before you change it next. So oil is added through this breather here. And then as far as the oil quantity, it has this really, hopefully you can see it, it's got this really cool float that shows you the oil level. So right now we're at full. Everything else is really straightforward. On the battery here, for periods of long storage, we have installed this disconnect. So when it's not going to be run, we just unscrew this until the cable's kind of loose like this, and that breaks the connection. That way there's no discharge from the clock or anything like that. And we use a 6-volt battery tender on it. As I mentioned to you on the phone, this is the positive ground setup. So when I'm hooking up the battery tender, it can kind of screw with you because you see that going to the block, and I want to hook up the negative there, but that is the hot. So nothing really to worry about on the carburetor. So I have not started this since last week, so you can definitely see, like, down here's the header pipe, so you can tell it's definitely a cold start, so hopefully it doesn't make me look foolish. I'm gonna shut the hood just because these springs they hold it up fine, but I still don't trust them, you know, get a little bit of vibration that the hood doesn't come down. All right, so this is, I think the lighting in here is going to be challenging because we're inside. Once we get outside and I drop the top, you'll be able to see a lot better. But if down here by your knee, hopefully you can see, these are the switches that I was telling you about. They one is for the electric fan. It does not appear to be operating right now, unless it's hooked to a thermo switch I don't know about. And the other one is for the electronic inline pump that's like a boost pump. That's, you know, I recommend if it hasn't run for a couple days, I turn that on, and as soon as it starts, I turn it back off. Like you said, climbing mountains, you might find that's helpful for you to use it. I haven't put it in that situation yet. Hood open right there, parking brake. It's got a little release button. Let's get in. And you may be familiar, the ignition switch down here is, you put the key in and turn it, and then the hole, it pops in and out. So that's off, pulling it out is on. So I pull the key out, I flip the two switches on, we'll make sure we're in neutral. I hear the little boost pump going, I'll give it, you know, a couple of tops of the throttle. C knob right here is choke, pull out. Start button is over here. Oop, it wanted to start. Let's turn the choke off. There it goes. So that wasn't too stressful. I might have given it plenty of fuel. It didn't even want choke. So boost pump's off. Now I'll let it sit high idle for a minute. Now this T knob, and you'll see it again when we pull it out, down here where it says T, that is a throttle lock basically. So if you pull that out just a little, you could use it as cruise control, I'm sure. I use it to keep it in a fast idle because I like to keep any engine in a little bit of fast idle when I first start it, so the oil gets to everything. So oil pressure is normally pegged out when it's cold. It's always kind of been like that. Amp meter works. This temperature gauge seems to work fine sometimes, and other times it's a little more spotty. It's saying we're warm already, but obviously it's not. this fuel gauge takes a while to come up, but it does work. So we'll walk around now that it's running. And you can hear it starting to clean up. Very humid out right now. Make sure I'm still recording. I'm not talking to myself, hopefully. No. All right, so we'll pull it out and then we'll run the top down so you can see the interior a little better, and I can tell you what some of the stuff does. So we'll push the fast idle down a little bit so it runs a little lower. Make sure our parking brake's off. Put it in first gear. Yeah, maybe the weather is going to cooperate. It looks pretty nice now. Alright, this is as good a place as any. Back in neutral. Parking brake on, which I'll probably forget that I put it on. To get the top down, there's a latch right here. Hopefully you can see fine. Disengage the latch, and these actually will lock back in place so they're not flopping all around while you're driving. And then this one's the same way. Latch it down. Now the top is free. There's a little knob that says top right there. Pull towards you to put the top down. Push forward to put the top up. So I hold it down, or I mean back. Now I like to keep it in a little bit of a fast idle because, as I said, this is a 12 volt hydraulic system, and it's a 6 volt electrical system on the car. So it puts it in a little bit of a deficit if you're at like low idle. So I'll keep it in a fast idle, run the top. Now you'll see what I mean as the top's going down. I don't know how wide my field of view is. So as right here, it's starting to get into the latch, so into the mechanism here. So I'll stop it and I'll scoot over and I'll just make sure that we're not in the way of the pivot points. I don't want to pinch anything. So now we'll continue our downward motion. And again, just make sure that nothing's in the bad spot here. I don't want to goof up the top. And it's really not as slow as maybe I made it out to be. So that's down. Now the sky is our ceiling. So let's get out. Now you can see everything a little better. Still have it in a slight fast idle, but it's already running very smooth. Scent of aviation fuels in the air. Our top is down there. The boot is rather big for touring. So that's latched. All right, some of the knobs, obviously hood is hood. The O here is to disengage the overdrive. So when it's forward like it is, overdrive works normally. When you pull it back, overdrive is disengaged. We never really